Hello.
Hello, Andre.
Hey, Shannon. How are you? Hi. Hi,
Hi.
everyone. We're back. Episode 25. So shook. Hi, how are you?
I am good. I'm happy to be here with you and our three listeners.
Oh,
You have my
speaking
heart.
of, okay, speaking of, one of our three listeners, and I sent you this, commented on on our YouTube channel on our latest episode, episode 24. Excellent job, fam. 100 emoji, thumbs up emoji, diamond emoji, muscle arm emoji, vibrant heart emoji, and a metal emoji.
I am so glad you documented all those emojis. It
So
wouldn't be the
thank
same.
you. Thank you, Norwell Music. You are indeed part of the Scary Fam, so we very much appreciate that comment. So, how are you, Shannon? How are you this week?
My back hurts, but you already know that. How
I
are
do
you?
know that, yes. Well, my back does not hurt, so my life is already better than yours.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I am good. I felt pretty spooky researching the thing that we're going to be talking about today, just because I believe in this 1,000 billion%.
Oh,
And
yeah,
if
he
you try to
does.
convince me otherwise, you're going to have a real ass hard time.
Oh, dear.
So
So we're starting with a bias.
we're starting with a huge bias, which is also, this bias is hilarious because this specific topic, like, when I was researching it, like any article that I would read on it would make like the very clear caveat at the beginning or end of the article that like literally this did not even come into existence until like Paranormal Radar until like a couple of years ago. So
Mm-hmm.
there's not like historical precedent at all for this. This is like new.
Yeah.
But I believe it
I
100%.
I actually have a personal connection to this because when I was a child, I was a black-eyed child, and I would knock on people's doors. I'm just kidding.
I mean, I mean, explains a lot, honestly. I buy it.
Okay.
Okay, so today we are talking about black eyed children.
Yes, we
I
are.
thought we were talking about the black eyed peas when we first were doing research, so I got really
Yes.
excited. But then Shannon reminded me that it was black eyed children, and my excitement like plummeted. So anyway, here we are.
Let us
Um,
know if you want to hear about the Black Eyed Peas conspiracies
yeah,
because I will gladly look into that for you.
I mean, quick side note, like, what the fuck happened to them, right? Like, where are they?
Right.
Hello.
I mean, Fergie's doing okay, I think.
I guess. I mean, is she? Did you see when she did the national anthem?
Was that when she peed herself?
No, no, but like, oh my god, I'm gonna send you this later. But this was viral like a couple months ago or like a year ago. Fergie did like the Star Spangled Banner for like a football match or something, and bro, man, oh my, she took some artistic liberties and they did
Oh,
not turn out
wow.
well.
Oh,
Yeah.
dear. Oh, dear.
um.
I mean,
Anyway,
really though, like I feel like I support Fergie. Like I bring up the urine thing because like I personally experience a lot of issues with urine.
she
A
peed
lot of
herself. What are you talking
infections.
about?
Yeah, she peed herself on stage because like she had been drinking too much water or something and she didn't get a bathroom break.
What?
It was like a 2000s thing.
Oh, okay. Dang. Or maybe she had like early life incontinence.
Oh man, sometimes I feel that way. Let's hope not though. Tell me about black-eyed children.
Okay, so Black Eyed Children, according to the Wikipedia article, which I know is so basic, but it really does have just the best kind of intro explanation.
We
Um,
stan Wikipedia.
I I low-key do. Is a contemporary legend of supposed paranormal creatures that resemble children. And I love that they make that note there. Like they're not saying that it's actually children, but that resemble children between the ages of 6 and 16 with pale skin and black eyes who are reportedly seen hitchhiking or panhandling or are encountered on doorsteps of residential homes. I think that's pretty spot on, especially considering the anecdotes that I've read.
Mm-hmm.
So some spooky shit. Now, background. So there is the notion that coverage of black-eyed children started as early as the 1980s. However, this notion actually comes from a 1996 post from
Hmm.
a guy called Brian Bethel. He's the guy that popularized the black-eyed children motif. So like that's literally the only evidence. Like this guy basically in his recounting of like his experience with black-eyed children that he posted on the internet in 1996, he says, "Oh, like I've read stuff about this since like the 1980s, but like that's it. Like that's literally the only source, him saying that."
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks kind of dubious. Um, okay, 1996. Brian Bethel. This guy is a Texas reporter, and he has this encounter, and he decides to post it on a ghost-related mailing list. And he titles it "Black Eyed Kids," and that's obviously where the name came from. What happens? This guy describes encountering two children in the town of Abilene, Texas, in 1996, as he was writing a check for his internet provider in his car. He was like parked outside of like a Walmart or something like that. He was just having a chill day. Nothing was happening. All of a sudden, these two boys, aged 9 to 12, wearing hoodies, knocked on his driver's side car window, and he says, and I quote, "I was immediately gripped by an incomprehensible, soul-racking fear. I had no idea why." And this
Hmm.
is a common motif with the Black Eyed Children stories. Basically, people feel like immense fear or like stress, or like they're not really controlling their reactions. Like the kids' black eyes are making the person say things like yes or no, even though they don't
Yeah.
want to say yes or no. um
I
so
I felt
yes, go
this
ahead.
way one time in the Starbucks drive-through. I like handed this guy his drink, and I just like knew, like, as soon as the automatic windows closed, that that guy had to be pure evil. And I have no evidence that he was. It was just something in his smile and his eyes. I was like, I just encountered a serial killer. I'm sure of it.
I have a different kind of for me this is basically just like intense peer pressure or just social pressure. Like the other day I was at a mall, and I saw this very expensive like vegan ice cream shop, and I was like, "Oh, can I try this flavor?" And they gave me a sample, and then I was like, "Can I try this other flavor?" And they gave me a sample, and I felt guilty after the two samples. Like if I didn't buy something, I know I'd feel guilty, and so I ended up buying like a $6 one scoop of blueberry vegan ice cream that didn't even taste that great, because I was like, I
No.
found no other flavors that I liked more, and I have
Yeah.
to buy something because I'm gonna feel like shit otherwise.
Okay, was this
And
pre-lactose intolerance or was it lactose free?
I I'm lactose intolerant. The vegan ice cream was lactose free,
Okay,
so it
awesome.
made sense. Yeah.
Okay.
But still, I mean, like I didn't love it, and I was like, I can't believe I
Yeah.
like, yeah. So
I actually like got over that because of my money situation. It's like if I can't afford it, I'm just gonna be like I can't, like I'm gonna let
right.
them think I'm white trash and just not buy anything after asking for samples. Like it's fine. I'll never see them again.
Okay, so again, this guy Brian Bethel, love the last name by the way.
Yeah, right.
He he says that he cracked the car window when these two kids approached, and he learned that they went on a ride home to get money to see the Mortal Kombat movie that was playing at the theater, like right then, which makes
Lit.
no sense. Because and this is something that Brian like explains. Like he saw that the movie had already started at that theater, so
Mm,
driving anywhere and back would mean that the kids would miss most of the movie. So like
mhm,
that made no sense, which is in line with a lot of people's testimonials about black eyed kids. Like when they speak, one, they sound like robots. Two, they say somewhat incoherent things, almost like they were given like canned sentences to say. And
mm,
like even though like obviously the timing isn't right, it's not like they can change what they're saying, because they literally were just given what they were given and they have nothing else to say.
mm.
That's almost what it feels like. And this is one perfect example. Like what they were saying made no logical sense. Also, like, who the fuck asked for a ride home to get money to see a movie? If anything, I just asked for money.
Yeah.
um Anyway, so he says that throughout this encounter, his rational fear continued and it grew. He said that he understood he had no reason to be frightened of these two boys, but that he was regardless. He says, and this is a great quote, all the while, the spokesman, the one boy that was talking, uttered, uttered, uttered assurances. Keep that in. Uttered assurances. It wouldn't take long. They were just two little kids. They didn't have a gun or anything. The last part was a bit unnerving. In the short time I'd broken the gaze of the spokesman, something had changed, and my mind exploded in a vortex of all consuming terror. Both boys stared at me with coal black eyes,
Mm.
soulless orbs like two great swaths of starless night.
Ooh, that was
Thoughts
some
so far.
sexy poetry.
Yeah.
Bethel is like
Um,
giving it to us.
so I mean, I love this, but this is obviously not contributing to the idea that this is real because he's literally writing it like he's like an aspiring writer.
Ah,
Um,
well, I have a few rebuttals. One being kids are dumb and they fully will show up to a movie late just because they're dumb. It's not about the movie, it's about being hoodlums. Secondly, drugs would probably account for being disoriented and not knowing what the hell's going on and saying
I
weird
mean, they were
things.
like 9 to 12. You think they were doing drugs?
Oh, when I was in elementary school, let me tell you, I had friends who were already smoking pot
Oh,
at
I
like
thought you were gonna
9.
admit to doing shrooms when you were 10 just now.
Oh no. No, I was not that wild. I did meow though at recess. I thought I was a cat. So maybe that's demonic possession, I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was the like the cat girl. Like that's like a thing. Explains a lot, doesn't it?
I guess. Total random ass side note. Welcome to Random Talk. I watched this video the other day that basically said that like it hypothesizes that one reason like humans evolved fairly rapidly when compared to other species, like in something like 300,000 years, we basically went from like upright walking chimps to actual Homo sapiens. The reason that happened apparently is because we did a bunch of shrooms. Like we
Ooh.
ate a lot of fungi that took us on a lot of trips, and that made our brains grow faster. So there's
Maybe
that hypothesis.
maybe the fungi just transported us to another dimension where we could speak to aliens who gave us the intellect.
Maybe it would still make sense though, wouldn't it? I mean, regardless of what the shrooms actually did, it's the fact that the shrooms
Yeah.
helped, which is kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
um Something that is I think important to note in that is that I guess we have DNA like significantly similar to fungi, like
Oh.
mushrooms.
Yeah.
um more than other species you think we'd be more closely associated with, which I found
Yeah.
really interesting. I did not know that. um so I don't know, like what if like mushrooms used to be people, but like their race was turned into mushrooms by an evil witch, and now they're like trying to become people again slowly. I
I
don't
mean,
know.
just to convolute that a little bit more, we also share 80% of our DNA with bananas.
I mean, yes, but like, I mean, like like the genome all draws from one thing. Obviously, in the end, like if you really like go many steps back, like we're related to a fucking like speck of dust. I get that, but like it was more than a banana, and it was more than things like small mammals, for example. Us and
Okay.
the shrooms. That's what I'm saying. So it is pretty
Okay.
interesting.
So if me and a
Um,
mushroom have a child, that's okay, right?
it's fine.
Okay.
um yeah, apparently like the reason we would like to eat mushrooms is because like when we were foragers we'd look for food, and the way we'd look for food was with like footsteps of animals or animal shit. That's how we know an animal was close. But sometimes when we saw animal shit and we saw like mushrooms growing from it, we'd stop on our tracks and be like, actually, can we eat this first?
Ah!
And like literally that's the theory. Because yeah,
Wow.
because shrooms grow easily out of shit. Anyway, back to Black Eyed Kids.
Yeah, perfect
Which
segue.
should be the child version of Black Eyed Peas. Like, can we be real? Like Black Eyed Kids.
Yeah.
Black Eyed Kids bop. So okay, this guy is scared at this point. He wants to get the fuck out of there. He says that he wrapped his hand around his gear shift. He threw the car into reverse and began to roll up the window, apologizing all the while to these two demonic-looking kids. He understands that his fear must have been evident at the moment. He says the boy in the back wore a look of confusion. As he
Mhm.
as he was trying to leave, like put the car in reverse and get the fuck out. The spokesman banged sharply on the window as I rolled it up. His words, full of anger, echo in my mind even today. We
Mm.
can't come in unless you tell us it's okay. Let us
Ooh.
in. Ugh,
Ooh.
don't you fucking hate
I
that?
love it. I love it so
I
much.
know. Um, Last of the quote is, I drove out of the parking lot in blind fear, and I'm surprised I didn't sideswipe a car or two along the way. I stole a quick look in my rearview mirror before peeling out into the night. The boys were gone. Even if they had run, I don't believe there was any place they could have hidden from view that quickly. So,
You know what's
Um,
interesting is you telling me this. Like, I'm picturing my parking lot at my old apartment building. Like, isn't that weird how
ew.
we do that in our brain?
Yeah, I mean that makes it more, that makes us understand it better. It's more personal, but in the end, it also makes it scarier for us.
Yeah.
I do that with all kinds of shit that I read. Like any no sleep Reddit story that I read, I always picture myself in it. It sucks. Um, so these are actually quotes from a 2013 interview that he gave about his original post and experience back in 1996. So it was more fleshed out once he gave it in 2013. Gave us a little more detail. It was good. I believe the guy. I do. Like I also saw like a video interview that he did, and I don't know. I mean, I'm not like a body language expert, but he seemed genuine. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, has he ever retracted? Has he ever said, like, no, I was lying?
No, I mean he's never ever said that. He's always stayed with his story since the beginning that it's true, it's legitimate.
Hmm.
So,
Okay. What else do you have for
um,
me?
okay. So in 2013, Snopes.com reported that Black Eyed Children fever hit the internet in February of 2013. Okay, even though like the post that this guy made was made in 1996, it wasn't until 2013 when he gave this interview, this like 2 minute video episode of a program called Weekly Strange that appeared on MSN, that it blew up. So like the quotes that I gave you were from the report that made the 1996 post blow up back in 2013. Do you follow? Um, um, so the Snopes basically reports that like Black Eyed Children fever hit the internet in February 2013 because of this little video that came out with the guy talking about his original post. But that it is interesting to point out that like this coincided with the release of a movie called Black Eyed Kids, which was
Hmm.
obviously based on the same urban legend. And so Snopes is basically suggesting that this could have been a marketing thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I don't know that anyone actually saw that movie, so um, I guess it could have been, but it definitely didn't work.
Yeah.
Okay, now something else is very interesting. There's a paranormal investigator. His name is A. Milhorn, and he likes to offer psychological explanations for the spread of urban legends. And he commented specifically in Black Eyed Children at one point, and he said that I love this. He's a paranormal investigator, but he's very good at being a skeptic as well. Because
Hmm.
here he actually tries to um, disprove Black Eyed Children by saying that one of the explanations people like could be thinking this is real is priming. So you know what priming is, but it's basically
Yes.
when you read about something, you're more predisposed to like pay attention to it. Something like if you read a lot of stuff about Black Eyed Children, then it might make you more attentive to like kids like seeking your attention in the dead of the night, and like you'll be scared and you'll see they have black eyes. I think that's a little bit of a stretch, but like I know that priming is a real thing. Like when you're kind of taught to expect something, you you can almost imagine it. Like
Hmm.
um, you can almost like hallucinate an experience that isn't it into being it.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, that's what I know priming is, but at the same time, I don't actually think it works that easily. Like I don't think you can see a kid that is just like creepy and like you can just like paste black eyes on him in your head. Like that's a stretch. I don't think that the human brain is that. I don't know, unless you're actually like insane,
Yeah.
or actually having like hallucinations. I don't think that it's just that simple. Anyway, he says that given priming as well as pareidolia, which is the, I don't know how to call it, a state. It's not really. It's the fact that humans see faces everywhere and like inanimate
Hmm.
objects. That's what that means. And also, given the frame of reference of scary stories, this paranormal investigator, A. Milhorn, says that people can very falsely perceive experiences, and that this Black Eyed Children thing could be one of them. So that's that rebuttal. He also mentions that things like decongestants or epinephrine or amphetamines or ecstasy can enlarge the pupils. But I'm like, bitch, like, yeah, well, I can still see the white of your eyes.
Yeah.
Um, But he says, yeah, but like if you're primed to see black-eyed children and you encounter one with enlarged pupils, because I guess he just like popped some Molly, you might project that their entire eye was deep black, especially if it was in the dead of night. I don't know. This is like too many like perfect things have to
Ifs.
fall into place.
Yeah.
If anything, the more believable rebuttal like that I'd buy is that people are just using sclera contacts. You know what those are?
No.
Sclera contact lenses are contact lenses that cover the entire eye and they're black.
Oh, yeah, I could
Yeah,
buy
people
that.
use them in movies or music videos. Yeah, they're a thing. You can buy them online for like $20. So it's relatively easy to like pull a hoax of this kind or prank someone. I just don't see a lot of black-eyed children pranks on YouTube. Number one, I'll tell you that, and number two, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm just not a pranker. Maybe a pranker would, but like I just think pranks are such a waste of time. Like who the fuck is actually buying sclera contacts as
Yeah.
a kid, or who the fuck is instructing a kid to wear these things to like go out to like spook some stranger for what a video? Like I just again, it's the same thing. Like I feel like a lot of things have to be in place and work out perfectly for this to make sense as something other than, well, what if it's just real? What if it is real?
Well, also,
um
like, anytime a prank costs money, like, I immediately lose interest. But also, if you're a child and you're doing something like that, like, you're putting yourself at risk by talking to strangers, for one. And two, you're presenting as some sort of supernatural being. You're not aware of what that person's been through. If they have a disorder and they might actually kill you. You know what I mean?
yeah, totally. I
So it's like,
totally
don't do that at all. Don't ever
I
do
mean,
that.
even if you're an adult that's actually pulling the prank and you're instructing your little cousin to help you pull it off by being a black-eyed kid, like you still can't protect. Like you're still sending them off to talk to this. You can't be in the video frame because
Yeah.
so you have to be kind of far away.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know what the fuck could happen. So I just the prank idea, like it's definitely plausible. I mean, people are reckless, but I just don't buy it that
Well,
easily.
the thing I would buy, because I agree, I don't buy anything that guy said necessarily. It seems too far fetched because it's just too many. It just doesn't make sense to me. But the thing that I would buy is that people just made it up. Like they're just telling these stories
I mean,
for
yeah, but like,
attention.
hello, girl, welcome to Scary Talk. Like,
I
literally
know.
anything we ever talk about could be
I'm
something
just
people
saying,
just made up.
I would buy that way before buying that someone actually saw something because someone was pranking them, if that
Oh,
makes
I mean,
sense.
yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's just Occam's razor. The simplest explanation tends to be the real one.
Yeah.
Um, but okay, so okay. Lastly, to finish my segment, I want to talk to you. No, I want to read you. I'll kind of try to summarize an anecdote that I found on r/Black Eyed Kids stories because Black
Ooh.
Eyed Kids have a whole subreddit.
Yeah, they do.
I love this one. This is like I thought this was gonna be an abandoned subreddit. I don't know that people cared for black-eyed children beyond like 2013 2014. Turns out people are still writing shit about this, like, so either it is happening to them or people are obsessed with what I consider to be a dead trend.
Mm-hmm.
Because people are still posting on this subreddit. Let me tell you, just 14 days ago, user Shelby McGurvey posted a thread called I Almost Pissed Myself.
Hmm.
So Shelby recounts that when she was 13, actually, allow me to just read this to you. I'll cut out some parts to make it shorter. But when I was like 13, my mom and her boyfriend had to go to the hospital, and no one would be able to get my brother to the bus stop the next morning because they had to stay overnight. Shelby does not know how to write because they had to stay overnight, so I got to miss school the next day to take my brother to the bus stop. After I made sure my brother got on the bus and stuff, I went. Actually, I'm just gonna read this word by word,
Okay.
because I think it adds to the realism, like including the typos and everything. After I made sure my brother got on the bus and stuff, I went home and cleaned and did random stuff a 13-year-old did. It was
Mm.
11:45. What?
I have nothing to
Um,
say.
it was 11:45 when there was a knock on my door. Thinking it was the mailman or a neighbor or something, I opened the door and said hello. There was this kid at my door. He couldn't have been much older than me at the time. Also, as I was reading this, I totally did that thing that you mentioned. I totally pictured myself as Shelby,
As a
and like
13-year-old girl.
yeah, in my house when I used to live. Yes, exactly. Um, when I used in the house that I used to live in when I was 13. So it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was a knock on the door. There was this kid at my door. He couldn't have been much older than me at the time, but he had bangs that were covering his eyes, which I found weird because it was like 107 degrees out. He could have just been emo, but like, okay,
Yeah,
Shelby.
like you don't mess
Um,
around with the emo
yeah,
lifestyle,
fucking
okay?
judgy bitch. Um, so this kid was super still. Like I thought one of my friends put a mannequin there and ran or something, but then it spoke. It spoke. It sounded like a fucking robot or something. um it was like it was programmed to say this. My mother said to ask someone for a phone in fear that I get lost. Do you have a phone? At this point I was
Ooh.
shitting my pants because one, I'm a 13-year-old girl and this older boy dressed like a burglar was at my again like we're actually like sure how he was dressed. He could have just been like an emo kid. um was at my door with half his face covered. Two, for some reason I just couldn't look away. I felt like if I moved or said anything other than yes, then I'd explode. And three, I saw two other boys around the same age standing in my driveway dressed the exact way the one in front of me was: baggy jeans, dark hoodie, and scuffed up bands. Now that is kind of creepy. So I started to stutter and shake my head. It was the only thing I could do. I finally got out a no, then started to close my door. But the fucking bastard put his foot in the way! Three exclamation marks. Then the two others started walking up, and I was like, hell nah. I grabbed the bat by the door and threatened him. If you don't leave right now, I'll fucking kick your ass, then call the cops. Man, this 13-year-old is
Wow.
ballsy.
Yeah.
Um, I shouted loud enough so at least one of my neighbors could hear, I hoped. Now, I was this short girl with fucking SpongeBob pajama pants on. I was in no way threatening. Then the fucker moved his foot and stepped back into the middle of the other two perfectly. That's pretty creepy. Then the far right one said in the exact same tone and voice as the first, I'm sorry to bother you. I'll just come again later and ask. Internally, I was planning my funeral. Just as I was about to close the door, the first one smiled, looked up, and there were black fucking eyes. The other two looked, did the same, and I was like, nope, and slammed the door shut. Then called my neighbor, who was this big ass 20-year-old dude. He ran over. Okay, I don't know how big it was. I guess if he was really big and intimidating, then maybe he'd like report to save the day. But bruh, when I was 20, I was, well, the same size than now that I'm 22, and it's not very big. And I would not. Little girl, I'm sorry, you're on your own. Like,
Oh my goodness.
um, anyway, he ran over and looked for them all around my house, but he said they were gone. When I told my mom all of this, she didn't believe me and said I was lying. Great mom.
Ugh.
Um, they never came back, but I'm still scared to be alone at my house now, especially because of my big dude neighbor moved. So there's that.
Can you imagine if they just like open their mouths and they're like, "Have you heard of the Book of Mormon?"
And they still have black eyes, and they
She
were
picks
actually
up her
just.
bat.
I know.
Oh man.
Can you imagine if they opened their mouths and they were like, "Bye, Joanne, out on iTunes now." Um,
I that might be the future of like Amazon drones, honestly.
oh my god.
They deliver your
Um,
package and then they give you a little advertising spiel.
I know. So yeah, I mean that's what I have. I thought the story was creepy and it was, it was kind of a little unnerving, and that's why I wanted to
Yeah.
read it. But obviously it was also because it was funny. But like as far as the actual research and this guy's original post and what it became years later and what it is now, I think that I think that it could very well just be an urban legend.
Hmm.
However, I do recall like years ago, watching the Shane Dawson video. And I'm a Shane Dawson stan, and he doesn't lie to me. That where he recounted that he had had an encounter with a black-eyed kid when he was like young. It
Hmm.
was basically like this kid like knocked on his door. Like all the stories kind of go the same. And was selling magazines, and Shane didn't want one, but wanted to close the door, but he couldn't. He felt like compelled to say yes, come in. That's also like another common thread, that like the black eyed children apparently can't come in and harm you, I guess, unless you let them in.
Hmm.
Which is why some people, I guess, great segue, theorize that they are actually vampires. I don't know if you've
Hmm.
ever seen the movie Let Me In. I think the
No.
title is self-explanatory. Um, basically, this like little vampire girl, and there's like a boy, and like they fall in love or something. I watched this a long ass time ago, but like he has to like accept her into like biting him, otherwise she can't.
Oh.
Yeah,
Have you ever seen the movie Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire?
no.
Get out. Okay, it's an original Disney movie. It's iconic. You need to see it.
Okay, I'll watch it.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, so like I mean, again, it could very well be an urban legend, but like I remember watching this video and I was like shook and like I don't know, like when Shane was recounting that story, he seemed genuine. When this guy, the original poster, was recounting his shit, he seemed genuine, and so I don't know.
So I'm gonna try and phrase this as a question, but you kind of already answered it, but I just want to do it again just because I'm still curious. So you recounted how Bethel introduces this in 1996, but you
Hmm.
said that you unabashedly fully believe that it's real. So how do you rectify these two things?
I mean, what does it have to do with the fact that like it's old, the fact that it's from 1996?
Uh, well, no, I mean, like, maybe I would expect it to have been like older than that. You know what I mean? Because vampires, that lore has existed
Oh, yeah, yeah,
longer.
yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe vampires didn't decide to use this strategy until recently. They were like, listen, like the capes and the bats and the widow's peak and the pale skin isn't working. So maybe let's dress up as kids since we can like morph right into bats
Yeah.
anyway. Let's morph into fucking kids and see if we can get some blood that way. Um,
So that's
no,
kind of where you're at.
Yes, no, I don't actually think they're vampires. Like, if I'm gonna think anything, I'd obviously think they're
Okay.
aliens.
I
That's
think they're aliens.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if these things are real, they're aliens.
Yeah.
Um, and I was kind of fucking like earlier. Like, I don't know that I actually think it's 1,000% real.
Okay.
I think that it's very, I don't know, very compelling shit. And like I said, I believe these couple stories, like they really like kind of touch
Yeah.
me, and I'm like, man, like these are genuine. But other than that, just because there's not a lot more, and because it is relatively new, you're right. That's why I have my doubts sometimes.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Um, so I guess for me, like, I wanted to ask that question because my first story contradicts the 1996 beginning because I did see that myself, but also
Shook.
1974, Andre.
Ooh, okay.
So I always mean to send you photos, and I don't. But there's this sketch that a witness drew of a black-eyed child, and it's super creepy, probably because the person's not a good artist, but that's okay. It scares me. And this is drawn in 1974 after this account.
Okay.
So I guess I'll just open with that. So two men reported seeing five unnatural, quote, beings standing outside of a house while taking a drive through the French countryside. They said that one of the beings began to wave a hand at their car as if they should come closer, but as they began to see the beings more clearly, the two men quickly became unnerved and they drove away. And this account they actually provided to authorities, so we actually have, I guess, their statements on it and what they
Why do
looked
you think
like.
they would do that if they weren't like threatened?
I don't know, but they were uncomfortable with it, and I think that does kind of fall in line with the alien theory because, like, aliens aren't always here to like dig through your reproductive organs. Sometimes they just want to say howdy. You know what I mean?
I just and you didn't say they were children. You just said they were figures.
They were short, so
Okay.
it's like this is why it's not like immediately tagged as black-eyed children, and why maybe they didn't include it in the Wikipedia thing. It's just these short beings with black eyes, which in my mind automatically equals black-eyed children, right? But
No, I mean I read more than just the Wikipedia. It's just that I didn't see anything older than the original
yeah,
post. But I bet you that if what you told me is real, it's the same thing. I bet you
yeah.
it's the same thing.
Yeah, like that's the vibe. So what they said is okay, so I'll just read the direct quote because it's kind of big. They were all just over 4 feet tall. They were dressed alike with long garments that almost reached the ground. These garments were decorated with multicolored spots. The beings themselves had earthy yellow skin and long hair that fell down their backs. Their noses were compressed inwards and their eyes were described as enormous, solid black hemispheres. And that kind of equals to me like a gray
Yeah,
dressing up
that actually
child.
just sounds like a regular alien, not a black-eyed children. Never mind.
So they actually sent an investigator to the area, and over 8 months later, they were able to locate another witness. This person was a neighbor to one of the houses that was nearby, and they said that they noticed the beings on the road as well, but they had just assumed that they were children just dressed in like a yellow cloth.
So we're back. We had some spooky static. Not sure what happened there.
It was my
Anyway,
demon boyfriend.
yeah. So Shannon is showing me the image that she was talking about. I hate it. It is scary. It's basically this kind of like um mansion or this like kind of house in the background, and in front of it you have like the three figures that seem to have like greenish faces, and then one figure at the front that looks like a girl. um Maybe I'm just imagining the green. Are all these five figures supposed to be the same?
Yeah, because they said that they spotted four, I think. Oh no, five of them. Yeah, and I think they're supposed to be pretty similar in their
Okay,
appearance and wear.
gotcha. Yeah, I hate this. Continue.
Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is a couple of stories. I guess you can call them accounts, whether you believe them or not. This one is a really common one, and I want to talk about it because I think it's so common because damn, it's kind of good. Like it's kind of what you would expect, but it's also kind of good. And I'll explain why I think it's good. But
Okay.
this I don't know if it's the first appearance of it. This occurs on Week in Weird, the website, and it's published by Greg Newkirk. He
Mm-hmm.
said that he got this as a submission straight to Week in Weird from a woman who wanted to give her account of black eyed children, basically. So,
Okay.
to kind of encapsulate what her account was, she was living in a home with her husband, and basically, this was at night. Two children knock on the door, typical black eyed children phenomenon. And she goes and she starts to make them food while they're in the living room with her husband.
What the
And
fuck? Like, did she just let him in?
yeah, I'm not sure what they said. I think they said that they were lost or something. They were kind of vague, like, the robotic thing. They kept saying, like, our parents will come to get us soon.
Yeah.
And so she was like, okay, we'll go in with them. And they were kind of skeptical. Um, and so when she goes back into the living room to kind of bring the food or whatever, they look up at her and she suddenly notices that they have black eyes, all the way black. And so in
Mm-hmm.
that moment, she like freaks out and she's like, oh my God. But they don't allow her time to freak out, really. They're like, can we go to the bathroom? And so she just obeys. She leads them to the bathroom. And while they're in the restroom, she's talking to her husband in the living room. They're talking about, what is that? Did you see that? And he says, yeah, I saw it too. And as they're talking, her husband gets a nosebleed, almost as though they knew that they were talking about them and wanted to cause him pain.
Ew.
So they do come back, and it's kind of awkward for a while, and then one of the kids says, our parents are here, and he walks to the door, opens it, and just like walks out, leaving it wide open. Her husband jumps up and he goes to close it, and he's almost falling over. He's having like severe health issues for like seemingly no reason. He was pretty healthy. And they look out the window and they see two men standing by a black car idling at the end of their driveway. And the men were described as wearing black suits. They were very tall, at least 6 feet. And they just stare at him, get into the car, and drive off. And then, by all accounts of this woman, she says their power came on and off a half an hour later. And for the next few months, three of their cats went missing. I'm unsure if there's a correlation with the cats. Maybe they were just, I don't
Dude,
know.
that's a correlation. All three of them? Are you kidding me?
Oh, she had four.
Well,
Three
still.
of them went missing. Okay, and then her husband's nosebleeds started to become like a regular occurrence, and they went to the doctor. Um, they weren't quite sure what it was, but then he was diagnosed with skin cancer, and they don't
Oh.
understand how it got so rapidly progressed. But she kind of believes that it was the black-eyed children. She says that she gets dizzy spells and nosebleeds, and um, well, I guess I'll just kind of encapsulate what this means and why I think it's good, because that's kind of the end of it, is that he's struggling with cancer and she blames it on them. But the reason I think this is good is because it indicates that there was an after effect to this, And whereas a lot of the stories, they don't really go into like, well, what's the consequence of this? What happens if you
Well,
let
a
them
lot of the
in?
stories that I've read don't let them in, which I think is
Yeah.
the the difference.
Yeah. And one thing that I had read in the comments, which was really interesting, is that it could be radiation poisoning caused by encounters with aliens that caused his cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I was fully just like, my tinfoil hat was folded, it was ready to go. Those men standing outside waiting for them, men in black.
Yeah, no shit,
Yeah.
dude. Totally.
Well, like that's also like crazy, right? Because we don't really see that correlation in a lot of the stories until this one, and that's just like, damn. So maybe it is aliens or it's some kind of,
Well, it's all aliens. Like, I mean, we haven't done an episode of Men in Black, but like, I think
yeah,
Men in Black are aliens disguising as humans to like pass off, to like
yeah,
pass basically. Um, and these kids could be doing the same. They could be their little alien children, and they're teaching them their disguising ways. And
yeah.
yeah,
Like one of the comments said, like maybe the Men in Black are training the children to be Men in Black, you know, which I still have lots of questions about the Men in Black, and we'll definitely do an episode of, like on that in the future.
hmm,
But that was definitely like my favorite account, and also I think that it does hold some weight because she didn't claim her story and it was submitted to an actual like news site to be recounted. People have suggested that Greg Newkirk did it, but he responds very heartily to those comments and says no, I didn't. Yeah.
dang.
So this one is from Reddit. Hallelujah.
So it's automatically true.
Yeah,
Is there
exactly.
also a is there also a big ass 20-year-old in this one?
No, I don't think so. I can't remember. This was posted by a user named Wonder Woman. However, I say woman as in she uses a C instead of an O in the woman. So, you know, stylistic, good job. Maybe Wonder Woman was taken. This was posted
Gotcha.
6 months ago. So I guess I'll kind of just read it straight from it and kind of let you assimilate to what's happening here.
Okay.
I've held on to this story for about 10 years now because I never know what to tell people about it, honestly. I don't even know if it's technically a black eyed child encounter or what. So if it's not and someone can tell me what I'd experienced, I'd appreciate it. So one night I was in bed and something woke me up, but I wasn't sure what it was. I just knew something forced me to wake up. So at that point I rolled over and looked around my
Wait, stop,
room.
Shannon. There is a car alarm going off outside my house. Perfect timing.
Yeah,
Um.
but I can just edit it out on your side, you know what I mean?
Uh.
Oh, it's fine, yeah.
What do you mean? What? No. Okay. Never mind. Continue.
Okay. So at that point, I rolled over and looked around my room, and it's bathed in this blue light. It was bright enough that I can make out details of objects in my room. On my floor was someone crouched down, and it looked like they were playing with a toy or something. It was hard to tell because their back was to me, but it was definitely a human child crouching. Page turn.
Ew.
Thinking it was my stepbrother who came into my room to play with a toy that he had left in there or something, I asked if it was him. I don't remember much from here, but I do remember this thing turning around, still in the crouch position, and when it looked at me, all I see were completely black eyes and pale white skin. I remember pulling the blankets up and over my head because it terrified me so bad, but that's all I remember. I've never had an experience like that again. And this person goes on to say that they think their house was haunted and that the families had a lot of experience that they couldn't explain. What I found interesting about this one is the blue light that felt very UFO to me.
Yes.
um and also it's not traditional, like it was already in her room, it didn't need an
Right.
invite, so that's different. Any
I.
thoughts?
I don't know. Like, that breaks the rule. So what the
Yeah,
fuck was it? And or maybe it was the same, but the whole we need your permission to come in is like bullshit. Maybe the whole thing is bullshit to like give the victim a sense of control. But why would they do that? Like, I don't
yeah.
know.
Well, also a lot of what they do doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, you know, the way they speak and the things they say.
And the fact that they
So
don't really do a lot of immediate harm, like kind of like the story that
mhm.
you told me about the woman and the husband, like they kind of just went and then when they left, like
Yeah,
there was harm done afterwards, but like you'd think like once they go in, they're gonna use that opportunity to like kill you or something. Or
Yeah.
even if it was just experimentation, like they didn't even touch them. I guess maybe they
Yeah.
can experiment on you remotely by just looking at you, but like I don't know.
Well, then it's like, well, what is the intention? Because if they are like Men in Black affiliated, like that normally happens after someone sees a UFO. And
Correct.
like as far as I can tell, none of these people seem to have seen UFOs in the past or anything like that. So why are they getting these visits?
I do not know. I mean, it could all be BS, obviously, but
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna mention that because that's already a given. I guess
Yeah.
that I don't know. Like maybe they did. Maybe they did, and we just don't know. I mean, that would
Yeah.
explain that. As far as why this black-eyed kid in the second story went in without the person's permission, like maybe she did give it permission somehow. Like she
Yeah.
uttered it in a dream, or I don't know. Like
I guess I'll kind of answer my own question because I was when in doing my research, a lot of the comments said that there was a correlation, and this is an interesting one. I wouldn't expect it, and I don't really know what to make of it. So hopefully you can shed some light. But they said that a lot of the people who were commenting that they had encountered black-eyed kids, it was normally followed by an instance in their life when they were struggling with religious faith. And I found that really interesting. It's like someone who was planning on leaving Christianity or someone who was atheist but now wasn't.
oh
Something
my
like that.
god. What if
Yeah.
Jesus is an alien and he actually hates it when people like stop being Christians? So he sends his little minions to kind of like fuck with you.
Didn't we talk about that in last episode? How that like cult that thinks that Jesus was an alien?
Yeah.
um yeah, I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with when you're struggling with something like faith, your mind is weakened and you're vulnerable because you're already in such a weird place that you aren't sure what to make of anything. You're stressed out, so maybe that leaves you open to supernatural or occult
I guess, but
things.
like that couldn't be the only thing because like there's other things that leave you vulnerable, like disease or the death of a loved one.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I
I feel,
guess.
I feel like there must be a direct correlation between the religion thing,
Well,
and the
what do you
black eyed
think
kids.
about demons? Because some
Well, we
people have
stand.
said well, like some people have said like black-eyed children could just be possessed by demons and what you're seeing in the black eyes is a demon, you
I
know?
mean, yes, but that wouldn't make sense as far as the Men in Black.
Yeah. And it also it's like why? Because like demon possession seems different from this, it's like a lot of screaming in Latin and
Very
nonsense.
different. Yeah.
So, I'm not sure if I buy that.
Also, it's much more immediate violence.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it like? I mean, didn't I talk about one guy that was like, I killed someone because I was possessed. I stabbed him 20 times.
Yeah.
These, I mean, if this is gonna be anything between a ghost and a demon and an alien, to me, it's definitely alien.
Yeah, I think I agree, and I think that's probably why my side of the story is very biased toward aliens. um, so there is a comment that I want to read. This is in the No Sleep Reddit.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know, No Sleep is kind of like the place where they put a lot of stories. So for the most part, they claim to be fiction, but this comment is on the subject of black-eyed children. It's not its own thread.
Okay.
Um, and this is by our boy Hodgley. Hodgley, thank you so much for writing this because you are a genius, man. Just I want that to be very clear. I'm just gonna summarize what he said because it's really I'm gonna fuck it up if I say it. But basically, he starts by introducing what animism is. So if you don't know what that is, animism is a spiritual belief that mostly everything on this planet has a spirit. So like a tree,
Okay.
flower, stuff like that, even animals.
Okay.
And so what he says is that, okay, so, okay, I guess I will introduce a little something more that he says. So this is part of a religion, Shinto. That's an animist religion, and the term for these spirits is kami. Kami. So
Okay.
kami, he says, manifests only where their physical body influences the physical realm. So, for instance, like the kami of a river, that would be a spirit. So, what he is indicating in this statement is that the kami of a black hole could be basically a black-eyed kid, the spirit of the death of a star. And he says, the embodiment of the force which holds the universe together manifests to such an immense degree that time and space cease to have any meaning within it. And you know how I love this philosophical crap. And he says, what they are, meaning the black-eyed kids, is endless hunger. And they're not strong, and we're gravitationally bound by them because they are a black hole and a part of this universe. And they can see into the terror we feel when we look into them and see a black hole staring back.
Um, you kind of lost me. Like,
Just in general.
I mean, no, like I understand what you're saying, but
Yeah.
I think it's kind of dumb.
Oh yeah, no, I mean it's the same philosophical nonsense that I always bring up, but I really like it because it's such an interesting take on it that isn't really connected to anything occult. It's more like spiritual. Like he's saying like basically like anything has its spirit, so like why wouldn't a black hole? And so the black hole is manifested into this black-eyed child that shows up to just, screw you up a little bit for no reason.
I guess. I mean,
I like how you're like ghosts, demons, black holes.
I mean, because we deal with ghosts and demons all the fucking time, and we almost think we can kind of understand what they are, where they come from, what they want. But like this is a little far fetched. But I mean, I've heard more far fetched things. We
Yeah.
definitely need to do a more philosophical based episode because there are some things that allows to talk about that are very, very out there, and they're not necessarily purely spooky. But thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome, Andre, and thank you, Hodgley, for enthusing me.
No problem. Okay,
So yeah.
so verdict. Do you believe in black eyed children? I mean, regardless of what they are. No, firstly, do you believe they exist?
Mm, I'm gonna say 92% no, 8% yes.
Oh my god! I
8%
thought you were
if
gonna
they're
say.
aliens.
I thought you were gonna say 92% yes.
No.
I know I'm
No.
dumb for thinking that.
No. Unfortunately, when it comes to eyewitness accounts, I just don't buy it because it's online. You can say anything. Like, if I logged on right now, I could say that I'm a gnome from Xanadu and people would believe me. You know what I mean?
I
But
mean,
if it were aliens, maybe. Just maybe.
interesting. Okay. I'm gonna say 92% yes. 8% no, just because fuck you, and also because I don't know. Like I don't want to believe that everyone just lies about everything because it's fun. Because that sounds fucking boring, actually.
But what if they
Um,
do?
but what if they do? I suppose. Well, what if they do? The answer is, I guess I just don't concern myself with that thought, and I choose to believe that most people actually tell the truth instead of the lie. Um, and also, I guess I just think this is compelling stuff, like the fact that this could be a real thing, and so I kind of want to believe it. But I will admit, the other 8% that there are some things about this that make it very implausible, like the fact that some of the stories that we read don't seem to cohere with one another, and also the fact that we can't even be sure what the Black Eyed Children's intentions are. It's very, very
Mm-hmm.
unclear from their actions. They seem
Mm-hmm.
almost non-intentional and kind of just there just cause.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, there's some holes. But yeah, but other than that, I'm all for it. I'm gonna adopt one of them. I'm down. I'm in.
They'll just like boss you around all day, and you'll be
Yeah,
like, why am I
Dad,
compelled to do this?
do the dishes. Yes, son.
Oh man.
Everyone, thank you so much for listening. If you have any suggestions for any future episodes, please do DM us at Scary Talk. You can also find us on all podcast listening platforms. We are on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, Google Play. We're everywhere. Stitcher, TuneIn. Um, Shannon, anything?
Take care of yourself and be aware of creepy children.
Yeah, and don't open the door if they knock on it. And if
Okay,
you do
but in
open
all
the door,
seriousness, no,
yes,
like don't ever open your door to anyone. If someone wants into your house, I don't care what the reason is. I don't care if they say someone's dying. You close that door and you say, I'll call the police for you. You don't let anyone into your house.
that's something else about these stories, isn't it? Like the lady just let them in. the guy, oh no, the girl on this in the SpongeBob pajamas opened the door.
Yeah.
The guy in the car cracked the window. Shane Dawson, he opened the door. Like,
It's
I
like,
I wouldn't open my fucking door.
yeah. I'm not here to blame any victims. I'm just saying don't do it. Like you just don't know. People lie, people are horrible. Just don't trust them. If they're really in danger, they'll let you call the police for them and they'll wait outside.
Yeah, like I mean, I guess that's not always necessarily true if someone's being chased by a murderer, but like also why you're responsible for that like
Yeah, you're not.
crazy random misfortune, like you know what I
It's
mean?
like you have to take care of yourself. Like I don't care if you think you're being kind. If you let a murderer into your house and they kill your family,
Yeah, like
yeah.
you can be like you'll be way kinder if you stay alive.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you can do more kindness if you're living. So
Yeah.
um but yeah, like I wouldn't open the door. Sometimes I actually do that thing where like solicitors come to my house where like I wouldn't even make them aware that I'm even present at the house, but I'll still like tiptoe to the door without them listening and look through the peephole. Like I won't even be like, "Who's that?" And then they respond, and then I'm like, "Oh no, thank you." I literally will just pretend like I'm not there.
Yeah.
That's probably easier.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you everyone for listening. We love you all. Tune in next week for episode 26, where we are going to be talking about Shannon's demons, because there's nothing scarier than that.
Oh yeah.
And thank you for listening. Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
The Mothman is real, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye
Goodbye.
bye.